Red Spine Chapter 1. Monsters live among humans, but in Suraya City, one name still makes people tremble: the Genderuwo, which was supposed to be nothing more than a myth. Like and subscribe. While fear spread through Suraya City, the government tried to calm the public. On live television, the mayor was asked about the city's new defense system. To most people, it looked like just another political announcement. Her answer sounded simple: massive light pillars would be installed all across Suraya City. If the city stayed bright enough, then whatever was hiding in the dark would have nowhere left to hide. But not everyone believed the plan made sense. Some people laughed at the idea of fighting a terror attack with lights. And standing quietly in the background was the main protagonist, Venix, a young soldier nobody respected, and a boy hiding more than anyone realized. Then suddenly, the mood changed. A soaked figure began walking barefoot through the crowd. Every step looked painful, and the moment people noticed, the air itself felt wrong. Cameras turned, microphones lifted, and everyone wanted to know what was happening. But the person approaching wasn't calm at all. They were trembling, apologizing, barely holding themselves together. The mayor appears soaked and disturbed, speaking almost like someone broken. Her face was pale, her body was shaking, and her words sounded less like reassurance, and more like a warning. She confessed that the rumors were true. There was no more time left. The attacks weren't stopping. They were increasing. And the city had failed to understand what it was really facing. Venix whispered, "This was never just terrorism. This wasn't something normal people could understand. The only thing that made sense were the ancient scriptures, because the enemy they were facing was a demon." On live camera, the mayor broke down. Just raw panic. She screamed the words nobody in Suraya was ready to hear: "We're all going to die." The broadcast was cut immediately. Then the government revealed its so-called answer: a new power, a new operation, their final attempt to keep the city safe. Lightning split the sky above the city. 11 hours later, West Suraya was already descending into chaos. And inside the National Hospital, the consequences of the attacks were beginning to pile up. Doctors were overwhelmed, patients were arriving in hysterical states, and the cause behind it all was being tied to one terrifying phenomenon: the ghost attack. To the hospital staff, the city was falling apart in real time. But whatever the cause was, it was spreading fast. And while the hospital struggled to keep control, one person stood silently in front of the television. Venix. The doctor snapped at him, demanding to know what he was doing there. Venix kept his head down. He claimed he wasn't feeling well. He said he just needed his medicine. But what nobody there realized was that Venix knew far more about the attacks than he was letting on. The doctor loses patience with Venix and tries to move him away. Other people nearby start looking at Venix like he is just another unstable patient. The moment the doctor tried to drag him away, Venix grabbed his arm. For the first time, his weak and nervous expression disappeared. Venix had come because he believed everyone in that hospital needed to hear what was coming. The doctor immediately dismissed him. To him, Venix was doing nothing more than feeding the panic. People were already terrified, and stories about demons and ghost attacks were only making things worse. His entire demeanor changes. He smiles and calls himself a savior, warning that something is approaching. For a moment, the hospital went quiet. Venix had expected them to listen. The doctor called his warning childish nonsense. Others whispered that Venix was a freak. To everyone in that hospital, Venix was just another frightened person who had lost his mind. The doctor still wanted nothing to do with him. Instead of listening to Venix's warning, he ordered him out of the hospital. Another savior finally arrived. His name was Judas. Judas reminded him that they were already late. The two young saviors prepared to leave. A transmission suddenly came through their earpieces. This was not a drill, and judging by their faces, neither of them expected the emergency to begin here. There was no time to question the command. Judas turned toward Venix. "Let's go, V." Then, a strange sound came from above them, and before either of them could react, boom! The hospital erupted. Walls collapsed, debris came crashing down, and the entire building was swallowed by smoke and red emergency light. Judas barely managed to get back on his feet. His first thought was Venix. "We have to help the civilians." Judas immediately called for reinforcements. Injured civilians were scattered everywhere, and anyone still capable of moving was desperately trying to escape. One survivor stopped them. He claimed he had heard a strange moan coming from deeper inside the building. Someone might still be trapped. The moment Venix heard that, his blood ran cold. A moan coming from the direction everyone else was avoiding. Venix immediately ran toward it. They reminded him that the army was coming. Then the hallway erupted with noise. Bam! Bam! Nobody even saw it clearly. Something tore through the corridor with enough force to send grown men flying. The escape route became a killing zone. Get everyone to one of the light pillars. But the explosion had destroyed their route. The normal way to the pillar was gone. Then the injured man notices the large equipment Venix is carrying. The massive device he carried wasn't just equipment, but activating it inside the hospital was far too dangerous. Guys, we need to go a bit faster. One of the survivors panicked. Instead of running, he pulled out his weapon and started firing. Venix stopped. And that meant using the one thing Venix had been trying to avoid. The equipment strapped to his back. Venix released the restraints on his equipment. The enormous device unfolded in his hands. Energy surged through the weapon. Electricity wrapped around Venix's body as the EKG began to charge. Venix held his ground. And fired. A massive blast of energy tore across the hospital. The blast struck it head-on. Its body disappeared beneath the electricity and smoke. Venix immediately noticed the result. The creature was hurt badly. A sound echoed through the smoke. The fight wasn't over. The creature body came flying through the smoke with those massive claws aimed directly at Venix. Venix didn't run. He planted his feet, raised the EKG, and met the monster head-on. Blue energy exploded around him as he blocked the attack. The people nearby weren't just scared anymore. They were remembering things. Old stories, childhood fears, ghost tales they thought they had forgotten. With blazing eyes and deep, bloody claws. And hearing it out loud made something click in Venix's mind. It no longer looked like a creature hiding in the shadows. Now it looked enormous, like a nightmare towering over everyone in the room. And suddenly this stopped feeling like a normal fight. That's when Venix understood what was happening. The monster wasn't only using force. It was trying to break them mentally. Trying to flood them with fear. Trying to make them lose control. So Venix shouted the only thing that mattered. Stay focused. But Venix himself was already close to his limit. The EKG's power was tearing through his body faster than his suit could handle. He was overheating. His muscles were locking up. And even worse, the creature's mental pressure was starting to seep in. A part of him wanted to save himself, but Venix couldn't do it. Not while the others were still behind him. He couldn't leave them. That's when the real attack began. Not against his body, against his heart. The creature started feeding him voices. Doubt, shame, isolation. It wanted Venix to believe his efforts were meaningless, that no one understood him, and that in the end, he would be alone. The weight of it hit him all at once. The fear, the guilt, the loneliness. It was crushing him from the inside, and worse, it felt personal. But in the middle of that breakdown, Venix noticed something important. Those emotions were overwhelming, terrifying, crippling, but they weren't his. The creature was forcing them into him. The moment he understood that, he snapped back. He forced himself to look directly at the monster, and told himself exactly what he needed to hear. Wake up. Then Venix finally saw the trap. The creature wasn't only trying to scare him, it was trying to manipulate him, trying to drag him away from the lit area and into deeper darkness. But Venix caught on. The creature immediately lost its composure. It was furious. He had broken free from its influence. And for the first time, Venix revealed why he refused to give up on the civilians. Because he cared about them. Venix tried to steady himself. He told himself he would prove it. Prove that he could protect them. Prove that he wasn't weak. Prove that he belonged. But the voice immediately came back, mocking him, asking the one question he didn't want to hear. That you failed them? The nightmare rose around him once more. The monster looked bigger. The fear felt heavier. The crowd looked ready to be swallowed. But this time, Venix understood the truth. This is not real. It mocked all of his heroic actions, all of his selflessness, and then asked him one brutal question. If you care about these people so much, why can't you show them your truest face? Then the creature said something Venix didn't expect. It told him to stop running. According to the voice, Venix wasn't so different from it. It even spoke about something or someone it called its alpha. The creature wasn't trying to kill Venix anymore. It was trying to recruit him. It promised that if Venix stopped pretending, if he accepted whatever truth he was hiding, then it would show him what reality really was. And outside, the nightmare was spreading. The streets were filled with injured survivors. Emergency teams moved through the rain. Bodies covered the ground. And the creature's influence seemed to hang over everything. like the entire city had become one long parade of sadness. The hallucination twisted again, bodies stretched into impossible shapes, faces distorted, hands reached toward Venix from every direction. The creature wanted him, overwhelmed, disgusted. His body was exhausted, his mind was barely holding together. Energy slammed into the creature. For a moment, the entire monster lit up beneath the blast. Its body convulsed. Its scream echoed through the ruined street. Then Venix looked up. Through the rain, through the smoke, figures were descending through the light. Reinforcements. The Savior Combat Unit had finally arrived. Instead of mocking him, instead of questioning him, he thanked him. The creature didn't wait. It turned toward the new arrivals and roared. But this time, Venix wasn't standing alone. For the first time since the attack started, Venix allowed himself to breathe. The pressure lifted. The others had arrived. He had survived his first encounter. And more importantly, Venix finally understood something the monster had tried desperately to make him forget. He wasn't alone. Then, Venix heard something. Something enormous was standing behind him. And suddenly Venix had only one question left. Am I still in a nightmare? Like and comment for part 2.